"We have all decided you don't live here anymore," my mom said. Those words still echo in my head like a nightmare I can't wake up from. I can still see the way she stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her face cold and firm like a judge delivering a sentence. My daughter, barely 3 years old, was standing beside me clutching her stuffed bunny, staring up at her grandmother with confusion written all over her tiny face. And then, as if it wasn't enough to throw me out, my mom shut the door, leaving us standing outside, alone, with nowhere to go. Tell me, am I wrong for never forgiving her after what she did that day? Would you have done the same thing if it were your own family who turned their back on you? I guess to really understand how it got to that point, I need to start from the beginning. I was 22 when I found out I was pregnant. It wasn't planned, not even close. I had just started my first full-time job after college, living back home to save money. The father, Josh, was my boyfriend of a year, and we were rocky, to say the least. He was charming but unreliable, constantly changing jobs, dodging responsibilities, always promising that he'd get it together soon. When I told him I was pregnant, he froze. He didn't yell, didn't storm out, just stared at me for what felt like an eternity before saying, "Are you sure it's mine?" That question cut deeper than he could have imagined. It was mine and his, no doubt. But instead of owning up, he started pulling away, missing calls, disappearing for days. My mom wasn't thrilled either. She'd always been strict, practical, and brutally honest. When I told her, she sighed and said, "You're ruining your life." My dad stayed quiet. My younger sister snickered something about me being the family disappointment. And just like that, I felt smaller than I'd ever felt in my life. I thought that once my daughter arrived, things would get better, that they'd all soften when they saw her little face. And in some ways, they did. For a while, when my daughter Lily was born, I felt like my whole world shifted. She was perfect, tiny, pink, with a little tuft of dark hair that reminded me of my own baby pictures. I cried the first time I held her. Josh came to the hospital once, brought a pack of diapers, and then vanished again. My mom took over in his absence, but not out of love, out of control. She dictated everything. When Lily should eat, what formula I should buy, even how I should hold her. She'd roll her eyes when I tried to do something my way, saying, "You don't know what you're doing? You're just a kid." I moved back in full time after giving birth, thinking it would help me get on my feet. I was working part-time at a grocery store and trying to save for a tiny apartment. But every paycheck seemed to vanish on baby essentials, gas, and the never-ending list of house contributions. My mom demanded. She'd say, "If you're living here, you pay your share." Even though I was barely scraping by. I didn't argue. I was too exhausted to fight. Things started spiraling when I began dating someone new. Ethan. He was the opposite of Josh, kind, patient, and steady. He worked as a mechanic, and though we'd only been dating a few months, he adored Lily. He'd play peekaboo with her, feed her little spoonfuls of mashed banana, and tuck her in when he stayed over. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a family again, or at least the beginnings of one. But my mom hated him. She'd make snide comments whenever he came over, calling him the replacement dad or another deadbeat. No matter how respectful Ethan was, she found fault in everything. One night, after I'd put Lily to bed, Mom confronted me. "You're not taking this seriously," she said. "You're bringing strange men into the house with your child here." I told her Ethan wasn't a stranger, that I trusted him. She scoffed. "You trusted Josh too." I wanted to scream that I was allowed to move on, that I was doing my best, but instead I just walked away. Weeks went by, and the tension only grew. My mom started refusing to watch Lily when I had work shifts, forcing me to scramble for babysitters. Sometimes she'd agree, but when I came home, she'd lecture me about how ungrateful I was, how she was raising my kid for me. I felt trapped, financially, emotionally, completely. Then one day, everything exploded. It was a Sunday morning, bright and humid, and I was planning to take Lily to the park with Ethan. I came downstairs, diaper bag packed, and my mom was already fuming. "You're not taking her anywhere," she said. "You need to grow up and stop dragging that man around my granddaughter." I told her she didn't get to decide that. I was Lily's mother. She laughed. A cold, mocking laugh. Mother, you can't even take care of yourself. This is my house, and I decide what happens here. We yelled. I don't even remember half the words. But at one point, I shouted, "Then maybe we'll just leave." And she said, without hesitation, "Good. Don't come back." My heart dropped. I thought she was bluffing, so I went upstairs, grabbed Lily and stepped outside, just to cool off. I stood on the porch, Lily in my arms, both of us crying. A few minutes later, I tried to go back inside, and that's when it happened. The door was locked. I knocked, called out, begged. My sister came to the window and said through the glass, "Mom says you don't live here anymore." I thought she was joking until my mom appeared behind her and said it herself. "We have all decided you don't live here anymore." Then she shut the curtain. I stood there for what felt like hours frozen, Lily whimpering in my arms, my whole body shaking. I didn't know what to do. My phone was inside, my keys, my wallet, everything. I walked down the street to a neighbor's house, crying so hard I could barely speak. They let me use their phone to call Ethan, who rushed over in 20 minutes. He was furious. He wanted to go to the door and demand they let me back in, but I just couldn't face them. We drove to his small apartment across town, and I sat on his couch holding Lily, feeling completely hollow. So that's the situation I was in. My own family had locked me out, taken everything I owned, and left me and my baby with nowhere to go. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to think about this. If your own mother kicked you out with your child, would you ever forgive her? What would you have done in my place? Comment below and tell me honestly, because even now, I still question whether I handled it right. In the days that followed, I tried to get my things back. I called, texted, begged, no response. Finally, my dad called me secretly and said, "I'll leave a few of your bags on the porch while she's at work." When I got there, it was just a duffel bag of baby clothes and some toiletries. Everything else, my laptop, Lily's crib, even her baby pictures, was gone. I later learned my mom had given most of it away to charity. She said she didn't want reminders of my mistakes. In her house, Ethan helped me get on my feet. We found a small one-bedroom apartment, and though it wasn't much, it was ours. I worked nights and he worked days, and somehow we made it work. I should have felt free, but I was angry. Angry that my mom had humiliated me, that she'd turned my own family against me. I promised myself I'd never ask her for help again. But life has a way of testing promises like that. When Lily turned 4, she started asking about Grandma. She barely remembered her, but she'd seen pictures and heard stories from my dad. I didn't want to poison her view of family, so I just said, "Grandma and I had a fight, but maybe we'll see her again someday." I didn't believe it, though, until one night I got a message on Facebook from my sister, "Mom wants to talk." At first, I ignored it, but curiosity got the better of me. We met at a coffee shop, and the moment I saw my mom, all the old emotions came rushing back. Pain, anger, love, confusion. She looked older, smaller somehow. She said she wanted to apologize, that she'd been trying to protect me, that she didn't mean to make things so bad. I asked her, "Did you think locking your daughter out with her baby was protecting her?" She cried, but I couldn't. I was too numb. We started talking slowly over the next few months. She wanted to meet Lily and eventually, I agreed. The first meeting was awkward. Lily clung to me, unsure of who this woman was. But over time, she warmed up. My mom would visit on birthdays, bring gifts, act like nothing ever happened. For a while, I thought maybe we could heal. But forgiveness doesn't erase memory. Every time I saw her, I'd remember that locked door. Then came the final straw. Last year Lily had a school recital, and my mom promised she'd come. She never showed up. Later she texted, "I had other plans. You'll understand when you're older." That phrase, "when you're older," was the same one she used on me as a kid, whenever she dismissed my feelings, and it hit me she hadn't changed. Not really, so I cut contact again, permanently this time. I told her not to reach out, not to contact Lily, not to send gifts. She tried guilt-tripping me, saying I was robbing Lily of her grandmother. But I knew better now. I wasn't robbing Lily of anything. I was protecting her. Protecting her from the same emotional manipulation that had crushed me for years. It's been almost 2 years since I last spoke to my mom. Lily's 7 now, thriving, happy, loved. Ethan and I got married last summer, and he officially adopted her. She calls him Dad, and seeing the way he looks at her, pure love, no conditions, reminds me what real family is supposed to be. Sometimes late at night, I still think about that day on the porch. I can hear my mom's voice, that cold finality. We have all decided you don't live here anymore. And then I look at where I am now, my own home, my own rules, my daughter safe and smiling. And I realize that being kicked out was the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to build a life from scratch, to become stronger than I ever knew I could be. So no, I don't forgive her. Not yet. Maybe someday, but not now. Some wounds don't heal just because time passes. They heal when you stop bleeding over them. I've stopped bleeding. And that's enough. If you were in my place, would you ever let her back into your life? Or would you close that door for good the same way she closed it on me? Like this video if you think I did the right thing. Subscribe for more stories like this, and tell me your final thoughts in the comments. I'll see you all in the next story.